Right. So today we're going to look at, you brought some really interesting stuff
Yeah.
about Aubrey Plaza. Kind of like
Yeah.
two totally different things, but also both in the entertainment industry.
Exactly.
So it's like, um, we've got, on the one hand, this like really, really sad
Mm-hmm.
news about her husband, Jeff Piana, who is a filmmaker
Right.
and passed away recently.
Yeah.
And then this other thing, which is about this open letter that she was part of
Right.
about AI
Mm-hmm.
and copyright in Hollywood.
Yeah. It's quite the spectrum of,
Yeah.
topics.
It is. I mean, I think it'll be fascinating for us to kind of like see what we can pull
Yeah.
out of this, or kind of like what it tells us about like the entertainment world,
Absolutely.
and maybe even like something about like bigger things,
I think
about
so.
life.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Jeff Baena story.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so kind of the I guess the first thing I noticed in the stuff that you sent is that Aubrey Plaza and Jeff Baena had actually like separated.
Yeah, they had separated.
Top 45.
They had separated several months before his death.
Okay.
And actually, Plaza had moved to New York in September of 2024.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like it was a significant separation.
So like they were definitely like living separate lives.
Yeah, it seems that way.
And there were reports I saw
Yeah.
about like him struggling after
Yes. Yes, that's
that
right.
separation.
The reports suggest that he was facing some significant personal challenges
Oh.
following the separation.
And I know you mentioned in your notes, like
Yeah.
even Aubrey Plaza had some concerns.
She did, yes. In October of 2024,
Okay.
she asked a friend to check on him after she heard some remarks that she found concerning.
Oh, wow. So she was
Yeah.
worried.
Yeah, exactly. She was worried about him.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, it seems.
Yeah, and there was something in your notes about him going to therapy.
Yeah. It's reported that he had actually started attending therapy during this period.
Okay.
So, obviously trying to navigate whatever he was going through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then like we get to January 2025.
Yeah.
And this like really terrible news.
Yes, on January 3rd, 2025, he was found dead at his home in LA
Oh, wow.
by his dog walker.
Oh my gosh.
And the cause of death was suicide.
Well, God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really sad story. And the thing is, he had actually sent a final text message to Aubrey Plaza that morning
Oh, wow.
around 7:30 a.m. So that was his last known communication.
Oh my gosh.
Sure.
So did they find anything at the scene?
So the reports say that they didn't find any drugs or alcohol
Okay.
or a suicide note.
So there's like no,
Right. It just sort of adds to the mystery of it all.
yeah, no explanation.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about like
Mhm.
his family and Aubrey Plaza? What
Yeah.
happened after that?
So they released a joint statement expressing their grief, which is understandable, and requesting privacy during that time,
Yeah. Yeah, two of them.
which is also completely understandable given the circumstances.
Yeah, and Plaza had that like kind of quiet
Yeah.
tribute
Yes.
at the SNL.
Yes. At the SNL 50th anniversary special, she wore a tie-dye shirt, which was apparently like a reference to their wedding.
Oh, wow.
It was something they did at their wedding.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a silent but very meaningful tribute.
Yeah, so that's like a really heavy story.
It is.
Obviously a tragedy.
Yeah.
But then there's this other thing that you brought about
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza, which is this
Yeah.
AI and copyright.
Yeah, this open letter
Yeah.
about AI and copyright.
Yeah, this is like a whole other thing.
It is.
Yeah,
It is a
yeah.
whole other thing. But it's interesting because you have this very personal tragedy happening
Yeah.
alongside this public stand that
Yeah.
she's taking.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fascinating to see how those two things exist in parallel.
Yeah. And what was the basic like idea of the letter?
So the letter is basically urging the White House
Okay.
to halt these proposals from these big tech companies,
Right.
like OpenAI and Google,
Yeah.
that could potentially weaken copyright protections.
So it was like
Yeah.
her and a bunch of other people.
Yes. There were over 400
Wow.
prominent figures who signed this letter, including Aubrey Plaza,
Yeah.
Ben Stiller,
Okay.
even Paul McCartney was on there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big deal.
So what was their argument though?
So their main argument was that allowing these companies to use copyrighted material like films and music
Yeah.
to train their AI without permission or compensation would basically be exploitation
Right.
of the creative industries.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, this is our stuff.
Exactly. It's like you're using our stuff to build something that could potentially put us out of business.
Yeah. And there's also that economic side of it
Yeah, absolutely.
that they talked about.
They emphasize that the arts and cultural sectors are a huge part of the American economy.
Right.
millions of jobs,
Yeah.
billions of dollars in wages.
Yeah.
So they're saying weakening copyright could have a really negative economic impact.
Right. And like a global impact too, right?
Yeah, they even brought up China,
Yeah.
saying that protecting intellectual property is key to staying competitive
Right.
on a global scale.
So these two Aubrey Plaza stories,
Yeah.
they seem like totally separate things,
They do.
but it's kind of interesting to look at them together.
It is, because it shows you the complexity of life.
Yeah.
You know, you have someone dealing with this incredible personal loss,
Right.
but at the same time, they're engaged in this huge industry debate.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even celebrities are human.
Yeah, and they're like living these complex lives
Exactly.
just like all of us.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of interesting too how Plaza like took action in both situations.
Yeah.
Like with the tie-dye shirt
Right.
and then with this letter.
Exactly. She took action in both her personal and professional life.
Yeah, and it shows like, you know, even when you're going through something
Yeah.
really hard, you could still like make a difference.
Absolutely.
So what are like the main things
Right. Okay.
that we should take away?
So I think the main things are the impact of loss,
Yeah.
how people deal with grief,
Mm-hmm.
the resilience of people to keep going even when things are tough,
Yeah.
and then this huge question of how AI is going to change the creative world.
It's really fascinating.
It is.
So yeah, to sum up, we looked at these two stories about Aubrey Plaza,
Mm-hmm.
the tragic loss of Jeff Baena,
Right.
and then this whole thing with AI and copyright.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
It's just amazing how these two things kind of connect.
It is fascinating how these two seemingly unrelated things can actually be connected in a way.
Yeah. And it makes you think like,
Yeah.
how do your own experiences, like the
Mhm.
hard stuff in your life, how does that affect how you see the world?
It's a really good question.
Like maybe going through something really hard makes you want to fight
Yeah.
harder
Yeah.
for what you believe in.
Yeah, it's like it gives you a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
Thanks for bringing this to me.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
This has been fascinating.
I'm glad you found it interesting.
Really interesting.
Good, good.
All right. Thanks for joining me on the deep dive.
Anytime.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.